President William Ruto, the ODM leader Raila Odinga, and of course the other speakers in the celebrations of Katiba at 15. And of course this will continue being a national day, not a public holiday, but a national day celebrating the inauguration of a constitution 2010 that was inaugurated by President Mwai Kibaki the late on the 27th of August 2010. Now, to help us just look into some of the issues raised there, I have Wakili Duncan Okach on my far right. I also have the Honorable Wilberforce Oundo, as well as Mark Matunga, who is a political analyst and an educationist. All of you gentlemen are very much welcome.
Thank you.
So probably, let me begin with you, Duncan, because you're at the far right, on the proclamation by the President of the Katiba Day. In your opinion, is it a timely decision?
Thank you for having me.
Yes.
In my opinion, it's not a timely decision.
Okay.
Remember, this is a Katiba that we have had since 2010, so it's 15 years old. So I don't think you start doing birthdays for your child once they attain 15 years. Actually, that
Maybe
time...
that's when you have money.
It's not when you gave yourself a Katiba, we had money and we intended that prosperity will be with us from the next day that we bequeath upon ourselves that Katiba. So, of course, it's not timely. We should have had it. Maybe people say we can blame the previous regimes, but we still have to give it to the president, because the Englishmen say better late than never. Okay. So at least we have it, and we have seen how proud Kenyans have been. We have also seen that it has given us an opportunity to interrogate and introspect in terms of where we have come from and what we may need to do. So that opportunity, at least we can say we can dedicate this day, and without that, maybe we may not have been here today to actually speak about the Katiba Day.
All right, Honorable Oundo, what is your feeling about the proclamation?
Thank you for this invitation. First of all, let me actually appreciate the executive for thinking of having this day. It has been a long 15 years. There have been hits and misses. There have been attempts to review and revise and amend the Constitution that have always ended up a flop and have never moved anywhere. And let's also remember, even at the time we were passing this Constitution in 2010, Raila Odinga said 80% is good, 20% is bad. Let's implement it, let's walk along the journey. As we pick out the 20% that is bad, let's make a conscious efforts to amend the same. Right. Attempts were made through the BBI. It became a cropper. Many other attempts have made before, and I do believe this is the time now to take stock. What is good, what is bad, what we have done well, what we could have done better, and what more can we do to make this Constitution a living document as those who drafted. And we started agitating for the constitutional amendments all the way from Sabasaba up to date. Okay. We must honor them for the sacrifice, the loss of life, the loss of the blood that has been shed to up to the where we are. Actually, today we must celebrate those who started by saying we must amend Section 2A of the Constitution up to where we are today.
All right. Very interesting thought. Mark Matunga, what are your thoughts?
It is a great day, John. And I want to congratulate the President for having thought about this day. I only think that it should have been a whole day, not just half a day. And it should have been done nearly in every ward, not just in Nairobi. But nonetheless, I also join my colleagues in saying better late than never. But I don't think that this is the only day that we have attempted to actually, think through or apply ourselves to the thoughts around Katiba. But it's the first time that the President has proclaimed a day that we actually need to observe, even though it's on a national holiday. And I think it is important that it gives us an opportunity to actually reflect on the gains of the new constitution. In fact, we still call it new constitution even 15 years later. And it tells you that there are things that we still need to actually work toward to be able to actually achieve.
All right.
Yeah.
Duncan, 15 years on, are we still struggling with the foundational gaps of implementing this constitution? Or would we say then that we have achieved 80% or fully implemented the constitution?
The fact is we have not fully implemented the constitution, but we have implemented the constitution largely. And that is because, you know, from day one, this is a constitution that we bequeathed upon ourselves. And this was a child who was born and was supposed to be walking the next day, because there was no time to mark time. And unfortunately, that's not how constitutions work. The moment you have it, it actually guides your life from the next minute after it came into being. So to that particular extent, we have lived with it. We have had to struggle with some things. We have had our issues with the issue of understanding some of these articles, and we have taken them to court for interpretation. We've had our issues with people also not understanding the extent of their powers. But we've also had our issues with things like 2/3 gender rule, which we've never been able to actually deal with. We've had our issues with what we had assumed, that the moment we have this constitution and we have independent organs or independent commissions, that will be able to fight like aspects like the scourge of corruption. Unfortunately, we are still there. We've had independent aspects like, you know, the aspect of police. And we thought that they will be so independent that to a point that we will not have an imperial presidency. But the reality, as you heard the president the other day say, that, you know, he can decide who is going to be arrested. That tells you a lot that, you know, this fiction that when people make noise, Albert Ojwang is killed, the executive will tell you, these police are independent. But when it comes to the other day, they tell you we can actually order for someone to be arrested. So the issue here is not even the constitution. As much as we are saying, yes, we do not have a perfect constitution, there's nothing which is perfect. Maybe God, but no one has gone there and come back and told us.
Okay.
But here, nothing is perfect. And perfection is a moving target. So to that extent, what we have, the question is, what have you done with what you have? At this particular point, we have made a mockery of this constitution. So as much as we are celebrating, and it's funny that we are saying we are celebrating, yes, but the reality is that we have a good constitution. It's like having a very good plane, but you put an inexperienced person or a person who has decided that I want to actually climb down this particular plane. It will go down. So unless we ourselves, we decide that we want to be true to the blood that Mheshimiwa says was spilled, to the aspirations that we had, it will just be, you know, something that a mockery. And if you look at it realistically, regime in, regime out after that particular, after 2010, we've had issues. We were told by Uhuru Kenyatta that he came in and the constitution was good. He even, to an extent, supported that constitution. We saw there were issues, and the courts, in so many instances, declared a lot of his decisions unconstitutional, to a point that he even said, what is this? When William Ruto, of course, he didn't support the constitution at that time, but he swore to uphold this constitution. We have seen also his decisions being quashed by the courts, and he's being told that this is unconstitutional. We have seen them also insisting, both the previous regimes, the previous regime and this one, insisting that we will still proceed. And to an extent, I always feel like most people, once they get into power, they try to find ways of ruling using the previous constitution, which is not there. Because if you look at it, now over and over again, people admire to an extent the free flow that Moi had, the first Kenyatta had, and Moi Kibaki had. But currently, you find that the constitution has really restricted that issue of imperialism to a point that they feel that it has caged them, but that is how it works. In America, as I finish that point, remember, it reached a point where Obama did not want Trump, but Trump won, and he had no option but to hand over power to Trump. It reached a point that Trump did not actually say his election was stolen. He actually said, I will not hand over power to Biden. the constitution worked, and he was told it will be so automatic you won't believe that you're out of the White House. It reached a point that Trump again won. As much as the Biden regime did not like him, you had to hand over power. The same thing happened here. If the constitution was not as strict as it is, Uhuru Kenyatta did not want the current president, did not support him. But the moment he won, he had to hand over power.
All right.
And it is because the constitution, to a large extent, has really helped us, but there is a lot of mockery, like you heard Raila Odinga say, and he rightly said, and Raila Odinga does not just talk. Mheshimiwa will tell you. He tells you your wife is pregnant and you are told, prepare for maternity money. So when he tells you these issues in terms of EACC, IBC, and DPP, actually, there is a lot that is.
And we'll pick that conversation from there. Allow me very quickly to take a short commercial break and come back. When we come back, Mheshimiwa will pick up on some of the points that Duncan Okachi is making. But most importantly, why the Constitution has been called progressive is because of a Bill of Rights. And we'll probably try to gauge where we are so far, 15 years later. A short commercial break. Welcome back. You're watching the Prime Edition. We're still discussing the Katiba at 15. And coming back to you, Honorable Owundo, in terms of the gains made through the Bill of Rights, because one of the things why it was billed as progressive and what you would say a good constitution is it was because of a Bill of Rights. Today, can Kenyans say that they are well protected by the Constitution?
First of all, let's start by acknowledging that the Bill of Rights exists. And it's one of the most progressive Bill of Rights in any constitution in this part of the world, and literally the entire world. And whether we have lived the spirit and the letter of the Bill of Rights is a debate that will rage on for many, many years to come. Let me start by saying very clearly, the people who have been entrusted with the opportunity and the duty to shepherd the Constitution are the relics of the old constitutional order. They have been students of Mzee Moi, Daniel Toroitich Arap Moi. Uhuru Kenyatta, who later shepherded the Constitution once Mwai Kibaki left, was a student of Moi, Daniel Toroitich Arap Moi. William Samuel Ruto was not even a student, could have even both a student and literally everything about Moi. So they have not managed to countenance that the new constitution has brought out a new constitutional order. They have lived in the old colonial relics of the Chiefs Act, where the supreme leader, where the president became literally like a supreme leader, whose decisions and actions could not be questioned. And indeed, that hangover has persisted, has conflicted them, has been unable to allow them to allow the new constitution live the spirit for which we inaugurated it. Many of us remember the repressive days of the Moi regime. When everywhere you would go, even at the campuses at the university, half of the people you would sit with will be informers of the regime. Whatever you say, whatever you talk about, even the essays, even the assignments you do at the university, they will be taken and retaken to some security agencies to review. Uhuru Kenyatta came in to him, looking at what the father ruled Kenya, what he saw, what Moi ruled Kenya. Moi picked him wherever he was, made him a nominated member of parliament, made him a a minister for local government. When he got the power, he could not understand that the setup has changed. Likewise, Ruto, had been the spanner boy of Moi, had been a minister in Moi's government, had been one of the people who caused chaos in this country through YK 92. He could not understand, I've gotten a system that completely has got a different constitutional architecture, legal architecture. Remember, this constitution, both Uhuru Kenyatta and Ruto opposed it. They opposed it. They didn't vote for it. they opposed it. So to them, this was a forced document to them. They had no, that connection, that conviction to live the letter and the spirit of the Constitution.
So you're saying on the Bill of Rights, we are not living the spirit
We have
and
not
letter of the
lived this.
Constitution?
Honestly speaking, John, if I live the spirit of the Constitution, the many bullets that hit our boys and girls since the Unga demonstrations, since after the repeat election of 2017-2018, if we truly live the spirit of the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, the over several thousands of deaths that we have recorded through police bullets will never have happened.
All right.
The charging of innocent boys and girls and the Anti-Terrorism Act will never have happened.
Okay.
Intimidation of the judicial officers will never have happened. The intimidation of members of parliament, both the National Assembly and Senate, will never have happened.
You're referencing the recent remarks by the president?
Yes, that's a fact of the matter.
We'll
Will
come to
never
that
have
later because
happened.
I know that has asked members of
Will
parliament.
never have happened. We are fine. The Constitution is in force, but we are not implementing the Constitution according to the spirit that was envisaged by those who fought for the repeal of Section 2A and brought in multipartyism, and they changed a revolution that brought in the new Constitution.
All right. As we talk about it, Mark Matunga, and we referencing the Bill of Rights as he aptly puts it in terms of how we've implemented it. One of the commissions that really came under fire today, and particularly from the Honorable Raila Odinga, is actually the National Police Service Commission and the National Police in terms of how it has handled demonstrations or response to protests and demonstrations vis-a-vis this progressive Bill of Rights.
You know, John, I find it very interesting when I'm hearing comments from my fellow panelists, Dan Carton and Wilbur was here, basically looking at the entire Constitution as the responsibility of one person, and that's the president. And that shocks me when educated people still, they are telling us that we need to move away from the old regimes or the old constitutional postures. And that's what they're still talking about, that, hey, you know, the president needs to do this. Yet the Constitution actually is a responsibility of all of us. All of us, because, you know, I know you're talking about the Bill of Rights, but for me, if you look at this Constitution, everything in the Constitution, everything that we aspire to do, much as it's captured in the 18 I think 218 chapters and then 280 articles. All that is summarized beautifully in the preamble. My thinking is that if we actually, forget about even looking at the Bill of Rights, if we focused on the preamble of our Constitution and actually committed nearly everyone, and even every single member of parliament should actually be able to recite that.
We the people.
We the people. That ends with us saying that having given ourselves this Constitution. If you look at the bill of, the preamble covers literally everything that we need to be able to address ourselves to. And it is not a conversation of whether this president did this or that president did that, or who supported the Constitution or who did not. In any case, that support is also covered in the Constitution itself. It gives you an opportunity to actually express yourself. And it is true. If you're still hanging over 15 years later, who actually voted for the Constitution and who did not? I mean, I'm just wondering what kind of a progressive person you are. And I'm shocked to hear that from my fellow member of, my member of parliament here and Wakili. We all should know and appreciate that the Constitution is actually a living document. And there's no way we'll ever get to a point where we achieve perfection. There's a reason for those of us who go to church. There's a reason we go to church every single weekend. Those who go to church on Saturday, on Friday, on Saturday and Sunday, to be reminded continually of what our responsibilities are from a spiritual perspective, and to be reminded continually if we left church aside. every time we need to be reminding ourselves. And that's why I think that every single Kenyan, actually that maybe if it were to go out by even degree, every single Kenyan, child, adult, or otherwise, should memorize the preamble, because that's where everything is. And I hope that during this show, you can read for us the preamble, not the Bill of Rights, because I think a lot of us make noise about the Bill of Rights, about police brutality, about this law has been kept, about corruption and all of that. But if you looked at the preamble, it covers all that. And because if you focus on all the aspects of the preamble, you realize that every single aspect of what we actually need to be focusing on as Kenyans, as humans, as we, the people of Kenya, is actually covered there.
All right.
And so this sort of selective conversation, whether we were saying, oh, you know, these many people should not have died. I mean, there are people who even died during the process of constitutional making. Why are we not talking about that?
Okay.
So let's not sectionalize or basically apply what I would consider some sort of bias around a critical document that we've given ourselves. You know, my friend Duncan has given an example of the US. I mean, luckily, I went to school there and I've lived there. But you can also see, to the extent that the US itself, as one of the oldest democracies, how they are actually still struggling with the application of even their own constitution. I mean, look at what is happening there right now. I don't think I want to go to the details of, you know, the posturing of the current president. So it's never perfect. It is work in progress. It is a living document. We always want to strive to get to a level of perfection.
All right.
And we might not even get there during my lifetime and during our lifetime. But it is our responsibility to apply ourselves to this living document that we gave ourselves, we the people.
All right. Meanwhile, remember Chan, Echo KBC, when I come back, you're going to respond, because both of you have taken quite hard hits from Mark Matunga. You respond to it when you come back. Don't go too far. We are back on Prime Edition. We're talking about Katiba at 15, the hits, the misses, and of course, the reckoning. Before we went for a breather, Duncan and Mheshimiwa Oudo, you've taken some hits from Mark Matunga.
Allow me, John, to respond, because he raised very fundamental issues. And I want to remind the Mark that in the preamble, it says, recognizing the aspirations of all Kenyans for a government based on the essential values of human rights, equality, freedom, democracy, social justice, and the rule of law.
You need to read the whole preamble.
Yeah, I'm reading the whole preamble.
Okay.
It is difficult to make any Kenyan to believe the successive governments that have been in charge of the new constitution have literally lived with the rule of law. Disregard and disobeying court decisions has been the order of the day. Ravishing and humiliating judicial officers and the judiciary has been the order of the day. Humiliating and embarrassing the parliament when you have misused them like a rag, a tissue paper, has become the order of the day.
It looks like your beef is consistent from your opening remarks.
It is really very unfair for anybody to allege and claim that you have lived the spirit and the letter of the law.
But,
the other thing that I think Mark forgets, one thing, we were told that if you want to drive well, you must also have side mirrors so that you can see where you are coming from. If you are not a good student of history, you'll not even know where we have come from, and that is what influenced the articles in our constitution. If you look at, and where Mark goes wrong, and on the law, I don't think he can even debate with me on these ones. If you look at the Article 3 of the Constitution, it says every person has an obligation to respect, uphold, and defend this Constitution. That is the obligation given to every person.
Every person.
Whatever we are
contends that includes you.
Yes, and it includes us. That is to respect, uphold, and defend the Constitution. When we raise issues and we say that these people are not acting within the tenets of the Constitution, what are we doing? We are upholding. We are actually doing what he is saying we should be doing. And that is essentially it. But if you look at the role given by the to the president under Article 131, he is the head of state. Like the head of, we are calling him the father of the nation. He must lead by example. That is a very serious role. Secondly, under Article 2, he has been told that he has to respect, uphold, and ensure the safety of this Constitution. Remember, we have not been given that in Article 3. It is given to the head of state. Then to safeguard the sovereignty of the Republic. That sovereignty that we are saying everyone, Kenya is sovereign, but remember under Article 2, we have donated that sovereignty to our leaders, Mheshimiwa and the rest. So to that extent, it will be myopic to say that we cannot sit here and say that the president should be at the forefront. Did I swear with the Bible during the inauguration? I didn't. You didn't. The person who swore to uphold is who? The president. And we must hold him to account, and he must lead from the front. And that's why the things that we are saying today, as much as he's saying there are issues here and there, he must lead from the front to ensure that that whatever he's saying, all of us will follow. If you have a bad presidency, there'll be an issue.
All right. One of the issues that you've seen Mheshimiwa pick out, of course, is the remarks made by the president, which he also repeated today in terms of saying, I will deal with corruption within the executive ranks of government. But then Parliament and the judiciary must also deal with it. And he referenced the jurispesa tag. Do you think the Parliament has dropped the ball, particularly in terms of implementing the Constitution as should be and enacting laws really that protect the resources of the country?
But you see, that is what my friends forgot to actually appreciate in the Constitution. Duncan says that he's not that he says, he's a lawyer, but he forgets that the Constitution actually talks about 3 arms of government. Talks about the legislature, talks about the judiciary, and talks about the executive. The president has taken responsibility of the executive. Judiciary needs to do the same. Parliament, you heard just the other day when they were told, hey, you guys clean up your house. And I think that in the scheme of corruption, I think Parliament is number 1, in my view.
Is it?
Parliament is number 1, followed by whatever. But then, you know, he's just mentioned here that, you know, they were being used. I mean, how do you allow yourself to actually be used if you're elected the member of Parliament and you're supposed to be actually representing, legislating, and also oversight? And even the debate they're having with Raila now, where he's talking of NGCDF. I mean, it's not in the Constitution. So actually, Parliament, Mheshimiwa here, they're the first team that actually is basically breaking and mutilating the Constitution. Look at some of the areas that they've not even been able to legislate, that the Constitution requires them, up including
two-thirds gender rule.
Two-thirds gender rule. They've not done that. In fact, I would have expected Mheshimiwa to come here that day to say that, hey, as Parliament, we've fallen short. These are some of the things that we actually need to be able to do that we have not done. And that I expect to actually take responsibility. In Mumbai corruption, they're the ones now crying that, you know, because there is a problem. So the president has actually come out and said, one, he's created a platform for us to actually be able to review the Constitution every so often. And I think that is something we commend. And he's also taken responsibility on and say that, okay, fine, there's a problem in the executive, I'll actually have to deal with it. But he expects actually the other arms of government, that the Constitution gives mandate to be able to execute their part of the game, to also do what they are required to do. And right now, to say the truth, Parliament has fallen far short to actually be able to even come here and tell us
but
that this is
the one who has captured the Parliament.
All right,
if that is the case, they've allowed themselves
to be able
to do that. But let's put that aside. The conversation here is about where are we with the Constitution. In my view, I think that we have done quite a bit. There are areas that are lagging behind. Parliament needs to sort that out. There are areas that are actually still lagging behind from the executive side in terms of issues of devolution. But I think that we also need to actually figure out how is the issue of corruption impacting even our opportunity to realize the benefits of the new constitution.
All right. Mheshimiwa, as you respond to that very quickly, please also respond to that matter of CDF, because it is one of the issues that clearly look like it will be going to the referendum. And very quickly, so.
John, one, the third schedule of the Constitution of Kenya places the responsibility of protecting and enhancing the Constitution of Kenya under the whole and the hands and the head and the souls of the president. That's why in this country of Kenya, the president is the first person to take a solemn oath, to swear, before they advise the deputy president, before the members of parliament to do so.
Except this time you took it before him.
No, he took first. The third schedule is very clear. Oath for solemn affirmation of allegiance of the president, oath of solemn affirmation of due execution of the office of the president. It bestows on him to protect and ensure the Constitution is maintained and the spirit of the Constitution is lived. The two presidents who have shepherded this Constitution have fallen short of the glory.
NGCDF.
That's now. On the issue of NGCDF, I think it's a necessary debate. We keep on wasting national time to debate about it. First of all, the money, the funds for Kenya are divided into 3 or 4 pockets. One, the judiciary, the consolidated fund, the executive, and the equitable share going to the county government. What is retained by the national government, it supports the national government to decide how to distribute that money in all parts of this country. That's a fact. What NGCDF, it picks from the national government share of the national revenue. It does not interfere with any other revenue. It does not interfere with the equalization fund. It does not interfere with the shareable revenue. It does not interfere with the money going to the judiciary, to parliament, as well to consolidated fund. So all this debate you are seeing is just a debate, a misguided debate, and generally driven by this feeling of bashing and bastardizing members of parliament.
Okay.
At times you keep on asking, if Kenya does not need parliament, then abolish it. Then we go to Article 1 of the Constitution. We can govern ourselves directly without having to delegate that power to anybody else. Members of parliament have got no role to play in the running and management of NGCDF. They just play the oversight role as enshrined in Article 95 of the Constitution.
Okay.
And I challenged somebody who asked me, when the president is going to launch a project in my constituency, invariably he will invite me for political capital. Just the same way the chair of NGCDF, when he's going to launch a project, he will invite me because the Constitution allows me to oversight and present people's views to the parliament so that we can budget and enact laws. It's a simple start.
I'm really under pressure here.
As I
catch 30 seconds.
Just 30 seconds.
Very quickly, yes.
Man-made law did not make man. So NGCDF has touched, is actually the most efficacious fund that has ever been in this country, and it has touched and improved the lives of Kenyans. That's a fact. If there is an issue of a conflict with the Constitution, the best thing is to work towards making it constitutional. In terms of all these issues of amendments, I will prefer that we work towards it so that it's coupled together with the time that we are doing our general elections so that we save time. Because a constitution and all laws must be amended. They cannot remain static.
All right.
Thank you.
Your 30 seconds very quickly as you wind up.
You know, when I'm hearing that if NCDF or NGCDF is in conflict with the Constitution, we know that it is not in the Constitution. They are not required to actually oversight or manage or disburse or do whatever. That is not in the Constitution. It is unconstitutional. And if we are talking of 15 years of the new Katiba, then we should do away with things that are unconstitutional. The same way we are applying this in every aspect of Kenyan life.
Absolutely. As you can tell, the constitutional debate is something actually today one of the complaints by the Honorable Raila Odinga was that the president should have actually had the whole day to have this conversation, because there's so much really that Kenyans really need to vent out. CDF should be in the Constitution. Mark says it should not be. Duncan says it's something we can...
the Constitution now, so don't even try to apply it.
But it
Unconstitutional.
oh my Lord, it's time for us to take a breather.
We created the Constitution,
and the other end of the news.
And we have a rubber, that we can rub in anything and include anything.